Oh, hello, and welcome to today's Decay, where we celebrate births and beginnings of everything important since the dawn of time. May 7th edition, all day. And what did happen? 1904, all aboard the Luton bus. Val Luton was born, who was a Jewish-Russian immigrant who was related to Alla Nazimova. I think she was his aunt, if I remember correctly, who was a famous 1920s silent Russian film star. And I think he got a lot of his inspiration really early on from her. And he is somebody who wasn't a director, but was a producer of a whole bunch of film noir, B-film horror films, where he had like little to no budget. I want to say it was RKO was his production company he worked for, and because they had no budget, he couldn't show the monster. So instead, he came up with this ingenious idea that hadn't really been done before, maybe with a couple of exceptions, such as like the opening scene from the Boris Karloff, Karl Freund, The Mummy. If you get where I'm going here, don't show the monster, imply the monster, have just darkness, and let like the audience's imagination project their worst fears on like the darkened space. And this, he realized, was, for one, a very easy way to save in production values, and for two, a significantly more impactful way of sending chills through an audience. It's true, and it worked. And it was called, in part called, one of his effects was the Luton bus, which was the air brakes on a bus in Cat People goes off at like a really like unexpected time, as like, you know, the suspense is building, and like everybody in the audience just jumped, but like it was all, you know, this wasn't actually like a monster jumping out or anything like that. It was just a surprise way of cutting the film, and that became, as an effect, was called the Luton bus. So anytime you see like, you know, this jump scare, it's actually was arranged by Val Luton, who was the producer on a whole series of these films, who worked with fledgling directors that he really took under his wing and like taught these ideas, such as a young Jacques Tourneur, son of the film legend Maurice Tourneur, Mark Robeson, Robert Wise, all of which go on to like continue the Val Luton school of thought with a whole series of really wonderful films in the 50s and 60s, arguably like the pinnacle of production value and performances. Things like Curse of the Demon and The Haunting and The Day the Earth Stood Still. Although that's getting ahead of ourselves. Val Luton died, I want to say, in the early 50s. He did a couple of juvenile delinquent movies in the late 40s, early 50s. But like in the early to mid 40s, he was doing Cat People, I Walk with a Zombie, Bedlam, Curse the Cat People, Ghost Ship, The Leopard Man, Bedlam, Isle of the Dead. Probably missing one or two, but you get the idea. Some really good ones. The Body Snatcher and Cat People are probably my favorites, but it's hard to play favorites. They all have their positive aspects, and just when you think like, you know, you've had your fill, another one of them winds up inspiring you in some way. Leopard Man, for instance, has some really great stuff. The Seventh Victim also has some great stuff. Yeah. Val Luton, 1904. Well done. Ishiro Honda, born today, 1911, who's like, if Godzilla could be summed up in 2 words, perhaps it's Ishiro Honda, the writer and director of over 20 years of Godzilla movies. Yeah. Pinnacle of like early, and not just early, but like all, you know, 50s, 60s, 70s. We would not have Godzilla if it wasn't for the atomic testing and Ishiro Honda. Anyway, Murto Guinness, born today, 1913. This is totally fascinating. Morbid Anatomy Museum used to be the observatory room, which was this like tiny room off of Proteus Gowanus, right off the Gowanus Canal in like the late 2000s, 2007, 8, 9-ish, which is when I kind of got involved with going there a lot, and then was involved with speaking a couple times, and there was a whole occult weird collection of just strange and unusual individuals. And enough people started to gather there, and they wound up doing some like guided road trips and like, you know, bus tours, one of which was getting everybody from New York City all the way over to the Morris Museum in Morristown, New Jersey, a whopping 40 minutes away. But, you know, really far if they didn't have somebody to organize a bus trip. Because Murto Guinness, who, if his name sounds familiar to you, it's because he is of the like Guinness beer legacy and their money. In like the mid 20th century, apparently owned like 2 brownstones adjoining right off of Central Park, and obviously, you know, he was doing well financially, and part of his finances went to collecting 1800s taxidermy automata. So this would be like animals that were made to, they were like taxidermied and dressed as people and like turned into robots to like play instruments. And so he had like 2 full brownstones full of this collection that he was like buying up slowly over the many years. And then when he died, I don't know what year, he willed it all to the Morristown Museum, and it's all there on display. And who would have even known about this? It's fabulous. Do check it out. The Black Cat premiered in 1934. What a great film. I might be sporting Boris Karloff's hairdo from the 1934 Black Cat. Edgar G. Ulmer is the director, and it is such a fabulous Art Deco haunted house, World War I, Edgar Allan Poe themed, House of Usher type situation. Bela Lugosi plays an excellent role as well, the two of them together. It's rare that Karloff and Lugosi perform in the same film, or if they do, it's rare that they play like opposite each other at like equal billing, and I'd say this one, it's the case. Yeah, it's a beautiful movie. Edgar G. Ulmer hid all sorts of really twisted, dark stuff in there by way of like kind of vague phrasing, and it makes it that much more impactful in the process. Jerry Nolan of the Heartbreakers, born today, 1946. Traci Lords, I mean, the infamous Traci Lords, born today, 1968. The BBC production of Whistle and I'll Come to You, also premiered today, 1968. I love this film, television production. I don't know what you're going to call it, but it's so good and so sparse and haunting and stays with you for the whole year, even though you think that these are supposed to be ghost stories for Christmas. This was so successful that it was the beginning of Ghost Stories for Christmas, but for whatever reason premiered today on May 7th. And after that, they then like changed it, and all the M.R. James adjacent content wound up premiering on Christmas. But yeah, funny that like the legacy that it spurned, or you know, begat, started actually in May, not the Christmas season. Ha ha ha. Check out this production, though. You will not forget it. As well as the film Mortuary, premiered in 1982, which, you know, isn't bad. But is it Whistle I Come to You? Is it The Black Cat? Is it any of the Godzilla films, 54 to 75? Is it any of the Val Lewton films? It's not. But this is all really good and all great stuff to enjoy on May 7th, the day they premiered. Till tomorrow. Goodbye.